Welcome to Two Crazy Scoops Podcast with your hosts, Ayo and Antino. It's going a little too hard on this one. We'll bring it down here. So thank you all for listening to Two Crazy Scoops. We're back here. We're live and well, relatively. And we're going to fade out the music slowly. And so this is Two Crazy Scoops. And it's not just me this time. I am sorry I subjected you guys to those terrible, horrible episodes.
Never gets old.
Yeah, I did it like twice, and I was like, I can't do this. This is not this. I don't know. What am I doing? Who do I think I am, Aaron? Who do I think I am?
That is a good question. You tell me, sir.
It reminds me of a really good quote that I like by Abraham Lincoln. It says, "Nearly all men can stand adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him a podcast."
There you go.
That sounds like something he would have said. So is that your advice for the day?
That was not my advice for the day. That was just a quote.
Okay.
I wanted to share that quote with everybody, all of our listeners. Please don't fact check that because you just need to believe what you hear on this podcast. So, Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. And then we got A&A's back in action with us.
Hello, everyone. I am back.
So, we're trying, we recorded an episode before, and the audio got a little jacked up. But if I can fix it, I'll release it. But I at least just wanted to say that if it sounds a little weird, because I was listening to it, and my response time to what you were saying was like, totally off, so I need to find a way to edit it better. Just because of how we're recording it. But hopefully that episode will come out. So today we're going to start off the episode with some advice. I'll let you start with yours, Aaron. What was your advice for the day?
My advice for today is very simple, and it is think before you speak. That is my advice.
That is quite a
Kind of a long story, and I might have to save the story behind why I'm saying that for another segment. But it's just funny that sometimes you can say something and it just completely, the timing can be bad and the interpretation can be off, and sometimes you have to think of. Nowadays, I feel like you have to think more outside of the box and understand that what you're going to say can be interpreted completely different, especially when you're talking to people you don't know that well, like
or
on the job and stuff like that. Or if you're being recorded, yeah. Because I just started a new job, and so we were having a meeting, and yeah. But like I said, that's a story for another day. Think before you speak is the lesson I got from that.
Oh, man. Yeah, my advice isn't as embarrassing. But my advice, from my personal opinion, I think that a child's introduction to the Nazis should not be through the sound of music.
I actually disagree. I actually disagree with that. It was a great introduction for me, but whatever.
Yeah, I didn't fully understand the whole concept of what was going on because we just watched the movie and you just think of them as like a bad guy, not actually like real people who did real atrocities. It's kind of funny, but that's my advice.
I can see where you're coming from. I think I agree, but I also don't agree. I think it can be your first introduction as long as you explain that this was a real thing that actually happened.
Yeah, I still didn't understand it, though. I was just like, yeah, they're bad guys, like Darth Vader.
Like a villain in a movie.
Like, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my advice. We're coming back, right out of the gates here.
I generally don't give advice, so my advice is generally don't give advice.
Don't give advice.
But I've got one.
Okay.
I just pulled it right out of the internet. But I liked it. A positive attitude may not solve all your problems, but it will annoy enough people to make it worth the effort. And I like that.
Nice.
I feel like that could work for me.
Annoying people on a daily basis.
That does annoy some people, just having a positive attitude.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's very true.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, Aaron,
I don't think it annoys me.
Having a positive attitude?
Well, only if people have one like early in the morning. Before 9 o'clock. That's ridiculous.
We just talked about
no
that.
one should be positive before 9 o'clock. There's nothing to be positive about if you're awake.
Oh,
man.
We literally just talked about that with AJ, my sister. Shout out.
Shout out. Oh my gosh. Any more shout outs? We gotta go. Let's bring in the whole family here.
Just do it now.
So Aaron, we have been having a very shaky recording schedule due to both of our employments changing. And but have we just been relaxing, Aaron?
No, it's been nothing. I definitely can't relax.
We were
because now.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I was working one full-time job that had a set schedule for the most part, so it was a little bit easier. But now I'm working 2 part-time jobs, and so that means some days I'm working 12 hours, 13, depending on the day.
Wow.
No bueno.
And today was just a 5 because I have Wednesdays and Saturdays off, at least from one of the jobs. So, yeah.
Brutal.
So it's been a little crazy, but this is just a temporary transitional phase, and you kind of like when you start a new career, sometimes you have to make adjustments.
It overlaps, kind of.
It kind of overlaps a little bit, but the idea is hopefully within the next 2 months, so by March, that'll be squared away, and I'll just have the one again. But transition phase is always a little rough, but
brutal. But when it comes to podcasting, Aaron, have we been relaxing?
Oh, yeah. We've done some promo.
There we go. Okay, come on, man. I'm trying to throw you something here.
I'm sorry. I went completely off.
I didn't know what you meant either.
We have been doing some promo for the podcast, and we had the experience of going to YouTube. Is that what we're going now? Are we going there now? We're going to YouTube? Our guest appearance. So that's what I was referring to. But yes, I do want to do that as well. But we had a guest spot on the Sidekicks podcast.
Boom. Pow.
Snap. and so that was pretty cool. I had a good experience with that. I don't know if you want to. Let's start from the top. How did you feel about that?
It's definitely odd. Well, first, since we're giving shout outs, I have to give a shout out to Ethan, because he was like, hey, I just met a friend from Phoenix, and he says he has a podcast too. And I was like, oh, really? What is it? And it ends up that I knew his parents, and I kind of knew him, and you knew him. And so we got in contact, and it was just kind of odd to be in another person's podcast where we're not really directing where it goes. So it was an interesting experience because theirs is more like superheroes and just like Star Wars, stuff like that. So that's what they're geared towards.
And they talk sports and stuff too.
Yeah. But that's kind of like their niche, though. They kind of stick with that. And so it's kind of formatted, and they actually know what they're going to talk about, unlike me.
Yeah. So I agree. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, that was pretty much it. I just think it was funny because we had to have some ground rules, like not cursing and saying pretty much anything that we say on this.
Those are the options.
Dude, that was tough when they said that. I was like, what? So I had to filter myself, which I normally don't do. So.
Well, that's kind of.
No, I thought.
Oh, I was going to say that's what I was saying, though. It's kind of funny when someone else is recording because you're not really in control of the editing process. So if you say something, that's not funny, or you go off on a tangent that you didn't want to go off on, you kind of have to just leave it up to them to figure out what the real content is.
Yeah, which for me, fortunately they did do. It was a good experience though. But yeah, you're right. It is different being in like someone else's world because now it's like, okay, well, they're calling the shots now and asking the questions.
Yeah.
And I had to think quick on my feet because a shout out to the Sidekicks Podcast. But I mean, they are really huge Star Wars fans. And unfortunately, I'm getting, a little bit back into it now because of The Mandalorian. But I was never really that. I always enjoyed it, but I was never that deep into it. And so on that episode that we recorded with them, it was definitely, interesting because I had to actually research a few things. I'm like, okay, what are all the shows that they announced, and what's happening here? But it was fun. I had a good time though, and they invited us to come back, so I guess we didn't do that terrible. and the format is definitely different as well. So who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have some specialized episodes that have a visual element to it.
Yeah, and they also got us gifts.
Oh yeah, so they actually treated us really nicely. They got us gifts. I was not expecting that. And it makes me feel a little bad because we don't do anything for our guests. I mean, nothing.
We just publicly embarrass them and release the episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
You give the gift of your voices.
Of friendship.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. So they treated us like royalty. So it was cool because now I kind of know, what to do for guests now, or at least send them a thank you or something.
Yeah.
Man. They were really cool. So we definitely can learn something from them. And I like their ground rules and everything that they had set ahead of time. So
yeah,
it was cool. It was a good experience.
It's kind of funny because you think it's obvious, but then sometimes you just kind of start straying in a certain way, and you're like, I don't think we want to go here.
Mm-hmm.
That's so yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, sounded fun. I got to hear the live version.
Yeah.
Per usual.
Yeah. Her house isn't that big, so she's usually just sitting there hearing
Yeah, it's awesome.
Me go on about craziness on these things.
Front row seat. It's great.
Two Crazy Scoops is recorded in front of a live audience.
Right, exactly. We actually could do that too, but that's an idea for another time. But we could probably do that too. Do like a live episode on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure how would that work? I don't know. We'll figure it out. There is a way to do it.
Those are
do
fun.
Instagram live.
They're a little more interactive.
Can you Can you kick people out though if someone gets in that you don't want to be in?
Yeah.
Oh, because that would be like a real bummer if it's just like some randos.
Well, but here's the thing. You can, when you go live, you select who you want to know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So you can alert people who are actually contacts on Two Crazy Scoops.
Nice.
Or you can just let it all out in the open and just let any and everything jump in.
Yeah, that would just
depends on what kind. It would make for an entertaining episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, for who I don't know, but not for me.
Well, we could always edit it. Of course, what happens live stays live, but
Yeah.
as far as the reposting and the recording, we can edit out all the craziness.
You go into work and they're like, "So, I don't know how to bring this up, Aaron, but there's a short clip of you on the internet that is blown up."
Hey, all I can say is I was at home alone, so that's all I can say. I can't control what other people do
and
online.
Then we also were on another podcast. Do you remember that one?
We were on another podcast?
Yeah, and I never even talked about it, and I feel really bad now. We were on
what podcast were we on?
Dumb, Plum, and Dumber.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did was it the first episode or?
I think it was their third
or second.
I don't know. He recorded like 5 in a day.
Okay, that was actually pretty fun too, and I like their podcast just because of the fact that it's so laid back and they're so easygoing. Ethan is very easygoing and funny as well. And so, yeah, that was fun. And I forgot, you're right, we didn't talk about it. But see, if they bought us gifts, then we would have talked about it.
You would have remembered.
So,
yeah,
your fault.
I want $50 in Red Lobster gift cards.
Exactly. I'm going to text Ethan and give him my address. I'm like, send me something for being on your podcast.
But hopefully,
oh wait, but we didn't.
We're supposed to like do a collab with them, right?
Yes. I still haven't got my stimulus check yet, though. Oh. But yes, my stimulus check is going to fund our next project, but I still haven't got it yet.
Oh, you only get $600 though, huh?
Oh, you got jokes. Well, we might be getting more.
Yeah. So we got a credit card, a debit card.
Mm-hmm.
That was really weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what the point of that was, but
I think it's supposed to make things easier and safer.
Probably safer, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, well, like for me, it was just weird because I got direct deposit the first time, and then this time they're going to put something in the mail. Why didn't they just direct deposit this one too? So that's why I'm kind of disappointed. I'm like, I got to wait for the mail now. But oh well, it is what it is. But yes, once I get my stimulus, then we will be able to purchase a couple of extra little things for our episode, our collaboration, our next collaboration.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, with the stimulus, I might have enough to invite a few other people to the party. You can buy a lot of hot sauce with that.
Yeah. So let's see. That was our experience then. We've been working hard. We've been trying to tell other people about Two Crazy Scoops. We're trying to format it. We're trying not to get electrocuted while setting all this stuff up. And now, Aaron, what is the next biggest thing? And I'm probably just going to say it because we'll probably go off on something because you don't know what I'm talking about. It's been long enough, Aaron.
Are you talking about?
I'm going to learn Spanish. I'm going to do it.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I've put it off. I have been insulted to my face. I've been spat upon.
Oh, geez.
I've been kicked.
Really? Have you really been spat upon?
I've been ridiculed and made fun of.
Okay. Understandably.
I had someone, they were like, didn't the kids make fun of you for not speaking Spanish when you were growing up? And I was like, I assure you, if they made fun of me, I would have learned Spanish immediately.
That is hilarious.
So,
no, yeah, it'll be no, I think that'll be a good experience for you. and I think it's going to come easier because you already have a little bit of background with Portuguese as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to definitely help. And I don't think you were in it so long where what you learned is going to make you have a difficult time as far as mixing the languages up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so you were in it long enough to really get a basis. And so I think for you, Spanish is going to be very easy. Plus, you got a professional with you.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be easy for you. Well, I shouldn't say easy. Learning a foreign language is not easy, but I think those are at least advantages that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And he already has a good accent, which we were talking about before as well. So that's a plus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It sounds like I get real self-conscious when I say stuff, especially when I'm rolling my R's.
Can you roll the R's pretty well?
Yeah. Well, I've been saying Cervantes for my whole life. You got to like spice it up for certain people so they don't know that you don't speak Spanish.
Oh, okay.
I try to say Cervantes.
Yeah, some people I say Cervantes. My name is Antonio Cervantes, spelled with a C.
Otherwise, they won't know how to spell it, and then it gets real. I had someone end up spelling it with a D. Like, they spelled it Cervantes. They're like, oh, wow, like, I've never seen this name before. It's so interesting. I was like, oh, wow, cool, thanks. And then I realized she wrote down a D. So I have
that
to
they were
really,
misspelling it.
yeah, Cervantes.
But we're gonna do a full episode 3 months from now in Spanish, Aaron, me and you.
Okay, I'm up for it because I am gonna start Spanish February 1st. So what is today? A few days from now, I will officially start it. Now, I did take Spanish before, years ago, before I learned Portuguese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard you speak Spanish. A little bit here.
Yeah, it's not very good, unfortunately. My Spanish is not good. But, so it's going to be interesting because I'm going to have to go into it trying to speak it without using any of the Portuguese accent or anything like that.
Yeah, that's going to be
Portuguese word. And it is because they're so close. And I've been practicing at work a little bit because I work with a lot of people who speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. I actually had some customers come through who didn't speak any English too, which was pretty cool. I think I overcharged them for something, but yeah, if they come back though, I'll remember and give them the money back.
Wow.
No, but you'll get it. I mean.
Yeah, well, you inspired me, Aaron. When you said you were going to do it, I was like, well, it's about time. I mean, I'm married to someone who speaks Spanish fluently. I live around a bunch of people and have a lot of friends who speak Spanish fluently. And it's more a part of my life now than it was when I was younger. And I've been like trying to resist it because it is so daunting. Like I was saying, it's like opening up the door to even more people. And sometimes I feel overwhelmed just with the people that I talk to on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. But it would come in handy because I do have a lot of people who speak to me in Spanish, and it would just kind of be nice to learn that side of life. Mm-hmm. I think. Because even people who I talk to and they kind of have broken English, I just think if you got to speak Spanish, you'd kind of get their full personality and kind of understand who they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially where we're at, too. It just comes in handy. And then the cool thing about just not only where we live specifically, being in Tucson, but I mean, no matter where you go in the States, Spanish is not even really considered a foreign language anymore. So it'll definitely come in handy. No matter where you're at. And yeah, you're right. It does open up a door to a whole different culture, a whole different way of just viewing things. Mm-hmm. And opens the door for a lot more interaction, friendship, things like that. So
yeah, and the funny thing is with Portuguese, I was always like, oh, I wish I lived in a place, like it would be so much easier if I was immersed in it. It'd be so much easier if I was immersed in it. I would say that all the time. And then now I'm looking at myself, I'm like, I am immersed in it now. Like, it's here. It's at my front door. Mm-hmm. So it's like...
That's true, yeah.
Might as well take the advantage of it now.
Yeah. And I feel kind of... I feel kind of bad because I wish there was more opportunity to spend more time, like in a place that speaks Portuguese, because I think that would have definitely, had a deeper impact, I think, versus... here where we were trying to learn, it was just just without as many speakers here, it was just a little bit challenging.
Yeah,
but with Spanish you won't have that
also
that same.
I found that people who are married to someone who's a fluent speaker or a native speaker, they like pick it up real quick.
Yeah,
and they actually have like a good solid accent. So I don't know.
You can easily set rules like, first thing in the morning, only Spanish for an hour or something like that. Or I'm just throwing ideas out there.
An hour, Aaron?
Hint, Anna. Yeah.
I'm taking notes, Aaron.
Anna.
What is it? What's cocina? Is that kitchen? It's like the cocina is on fire. Oh. Exactly.
Oh yeah. Let's just hope there's no emergencies
during
that
hour.
No, Anna. Even if there is an emergency, no, Anna. Listen to me. Okay. Even if there is an emergency, it's Spanish only. If the kitchen or house is on fire, he will quickly learn how to say it, and he will never forget it.
Well,
it's
just
called
seeing
tough
the
love.
panic in my eyes is probably going to be enough.
Right. If you hear her say fuego and she's running outside, Antonio, that should give you an idea of what to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many words I could actually say before I run out the door.
Yeah. Right. But if you hear that one, that means get out the house quick. Oh man. It's interesting because with Spanish, and this is where our professional co-hosts can come in, because with Spanish, I feel like to me it seems to be a little bit more concise in some ways than English, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it seems like some words kind of reduce the number of words we use in English. Just the verb structure, for example, does that to me. Mm-hmm. Just for example, if you want to say like we have, in Spanish that's just one word.
Yeah.
In English is two, or if you want to make a very clear sentence, it seems like in Spanish things tend to be very concise and direct, whereas in English I feel like we have so many different ways of saying the exact same thing, and it's just, but it's a lot of extra fluff, a lot of extra words that are unnecessary. And I could be wrong, but I mean, would you agree with that?
I would agree, yeah. Yeah, well, just the example you used, like we have, you put two words together, tenemos. So, yeah, I think Spanish, not that you can't say a lot of things in different ways, but I think it is very simple in that way that, even just learning to read is already a huge benefit, because the way you read it is the way you're going to say it, which is kind of not true in Portuguese from what I learned before. The way you write things in Portuguese sometimes is not the way you can say it, spoken. So, yeah, I would agree with that statement.
And in Spanish, it's like excuse me, sorry, I'm clearing my throat too much in the mic. It seems like in Spanish too, the way, like you said, the way things are written or the way it sounds, whereas in English that's not the case.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes we have in English there's so many exceptions to the rules, whereas in Spanish it looks like you have a rule and you pretty much just follow that rule.
Yes.
If you once you learn the pronunciation, you can just read right away, and I do like that about Spanish.
Yeah, there's very clear rules and there's very few exceptions. Mm-hmm. There are some, but very few. And in English, that's it's the opposite. So, yeah, English is a lot harder in that sense. And I've heard, a lot of other people who are trying to learn English or who have tried to learn English and Spanish, they always say English is a lot harder.
Well, I realized that when she would ask me why expressions were certain expressions, or why I chose this word instead of a different word. And there's no rule that I can point to. It's just like I know it because that's how I grew up. Like what you should and shouldn't say, or you should, how you say it really changes things. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of unspoken rules.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of that by any chance that you can think of? Where it's something that you may have heard, or Anna, if there's something that you wondered why something was said a certain way.
Well, what's an expression that you can, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater? That's an expression.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what that means?
No, I don't.
I don't think I fully understand what it means either, but it's kind of like, don't get rid of everything just because I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay.
So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater means, in other words, if you're referring to a situation, it just means that everything in that situation is not bad. Mm-hmm. The baby is still valuable, but the bathwater is what you want to get rid of.
Don't take out the good along with the bad.
So don't take out the good with the bad. Yeah, just get rid of the bad. Yeah. So, if you're learning how to cook and you're making something and you burn it, you don't just throw out the recipe and say that recipe is no good. No, the recipe is good. You just burn the food. So try it again. That's kind of what that expression means.
Yeah, another one was I just forgot it. I just remembered it and I forgot it. But like,
speaking of which, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you can go because I still couldn't remember.
No, I was just gonna say, is there a similar expression in Spanish that you can think of, Anna, that either does or does not translate well in English?
Or do they even have that baby in the bathwater thing?
Not that one specifically that I know of. Idioms are like a whole nother subject too when you're learning a language. And I can't think of one right now. But
well, there's another one like don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Do you know that one?
Wait, don't do what?
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Actually, it's funny. I've heard that, but I don't even understand that one.
So, like, to check if a horse is healthy or not, you look at its teeth, I guess. Mm-hmm. But if someone's gifting you a horse, you don't want to straight up just, like, check it out and be like, oh, is this really what it is? It's like if I gave you, like, a card and you opened it right in front of me and, like, looked at the money or how much I gave you and you were just like, oh. It's you putting someone in an uncomfortable situation.
Oh.
That's okay. I didn't know. So I'm glad you explained that because I didn't even know what that meant. But that makes sense. Like you don't open the gift in front of the person, basically.
Yeah, it's like if I gave you like a PlayStation or something, you don't open it up and make sure that it's working. You would just take it. You're not like, oh, like I don't know. It's just really rude to do.
Well, in most cases, yes. Now, if you gave me a PlayStation, I would open it up to make sure it worked. Well, I'm like, something's wrong. Something's seriously wrong with this. I would plug it up in your house to make sure.
But it's just so funny that I use those expressions so much, and I didn't even notice until I tell her that, and then she's like, "What do you mean?"
He does use a lot of idioms.
Oh, like, one that I've heard for years that I didn't. This is in English, of course, but one I've heard for years, and I didn't understand it until like a year ago, or within the last year. You ever heard the expression, have your cake and eat it too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah, I hate that one.
Were you the one who explained it to me?
I think so, because it was bugging me so much.
I never understood what that meant. I was like, I kept thinking like, have your cake and eat it. Well, yeah. Why would I not want to eat the cake? Of course.
It's like you can't eat the cake and still have it. Once you eat the cake, it is gone.
Depends on how long you wait. You might be able to get it back.
You can't have everything.
Oh my goodness.
Huh?
Yeah. Basically, like you can't have everything.
Yeah, you can't have everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't eat the cake and still have it, which I get now. So I'm proud of myself for learning that. But yeah, we wonder why people don't have a hard time with English. It's like, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
But it's funny that in order to explain a concept, that's how I do it. That's why I have idioms. It's so that I would just like, well, this makes sense, right? And then this applies to the situation we're dealing with, right? So that's kind of, I think that might have been how my dad taught me just concepts, and that's why I do it so much.
Yeah, I think your dad uses a lot of idioms too. I think that's where you got it from.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because if you're teaching your child things, I think helping them look at another situation and balance it with what they're actually dealing with would help them understand those concepts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But some things just don't translate. Well. Like I was just looking at a couple online just to looking at some other idioms in English, and like for example, beating a dead horse.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
I'm like, what? Yeah, it's like stuff that we say, and you don't think about it until you're studying a language. A lot of the stuff you don't even think about. You just talk.
Uh-huh.
But when you're studying a language and you start looking up idioms for the language that you're learning, and then you look at some of the common ones in your own language, you're like, wait, none of this stuff makes sense. Or bite the bullet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or beating around the bush.
Yeah.
Adding insult to injury. All these other
putting salt in the wound.
Expressions. Yeah. Well, that one should translate actually to anything.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's kind of funny because obviously I didn't really grow up like you were saying, even with those concepts in my head. And so it is interesting now when I look at Spanish, I'm like, that's weird. And then I look at something else, I'm like, that's weird as well. But then you go back and you look at your own language and you're like, oh, like this is really weird. Everything is really weird.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's just one of those things you just don't think about.
Yeah.
I can think of one pretty simple one in Spanish. When someone says, eso es pan comido, like that's eaten bread. It just means like it's
already taken.
What do you think it means?
Like it's already taken?
It's eaten bread.
Oh, so like it's gone?
Bread it's already eaten.
That's.
Oh, it's a done deal. Like it's already been done, said and done.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's funny that you use the idiom to explain the idiom.
Yeah.
Well, is done deal an idiom? Done deal?
Yeah, it's a done deal. I mean, everyone just says that. I don't know. It's like when you're like, do you want to do this? Yeah, it's a done deal. Okay, you understand that it's closed, you know?
Yeah, it's
I guess so.
It just means easy, basically. It's easy.
Okay.
Pan comido, like, that's easy.
Oh, that's easy?
It's already eaten.
Oh, it's like the action has already been done, so it's like, it's all downhill from here.
Yep. That one's a pretty
idioms.
simple one I could think of.
Yeah.
So I looked up a couple. So the one that you just said was say that one more time, Ana.
Pan comido.
Okay. Pan comido. And I see that one too. To be eaten bread is the literal translation. It means to be very easy. Huh. Interesting. All right. What about this one? I'm gonna do this in my Spanish. Pronunciation is bad, so forgive me, but I'm going to see if I can say this one and if you can understand it. All right.
Yeah.
Ponerse de mala leche.
Ponerse de mala leche. You said it right.
Does that mean anything? It's supposed to be an idiom.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm not the best at idioms. So, like I have a hard time remembering them, but let's see. Does that mean?
Literally, it means to get in bad milk.
Sour milk, like.
Yeah, sour milk. Yeah.
It's kind of like sour grapes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're
kind of like
you're bitter, you're sour about something.
Yes,
you're upset,
exactly.
You get upset about something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing.
That's exactly. No, go ahead.
Another thing that I found too is that every language has a different sound for animals.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I was listening.
That is true.
I was listening to De Colores, going back to my childhood. I know the words of De Colores. I know the tune. Sorry, I don't know the words, but for some reason it like burned into my head. I guess I must have listened to it a lot as a kid at school when they're teaching you Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having Ana explain it to me, and then they say El Gallo says kitty kitty kitty.
Canta el gallo. Kitty 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 kitty.
Yeah, so it is kind of funny that even the animals speak in a different accent.
In English, what is it? Cock-a-doodle-doo?
Yeah, cock-a-doodle-doo.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah, and the way it's written too. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're a kid, they're like, this cow says moo. The chicken says, or the chicken clucks. The dog says woof. But in Spanish, what do dogs say in Spanish?
Woof? I don't know. Whoa, I've never been asked that.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
A dog? What does a dog say in Spanish?
It's funny because when I was
woof.
Woof, woof.
I don't know.
When I was explaining idioms to her, I was like, all Spanish idioms are so bizarre. And I told her I was going to make up one that says my dog had a bad Saturday. Because that's what they sound like to me.
My dog had it.
Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
They sound random.
Yeah, they sound random. Dog has a bad Saturday.
Well, I know what a chicken says.
What does a chicken say in Spanish?
Cheep, cheep.
Cheep, cheep, cheep. Yeah. It's similar.
Wait, what is it? Wait, what does the chicken say? I didn't hear you.
Cheep, cheep, cheep.
Okay.
And the
I don't even.
The chick says pew, pew, pew.
What do chickens? What do they? I don't even know what chickens say.
They cluck, yeah.
Cluck. Oh, they cluck. That's true. Okay. Yeah. Dude, it's been a long time since I've learned what the animals say.
My head hurts now, though.
It's been a few years.
That's why it's hard, because you are not only taking in some other culture, but you're also mirroring yourself and analyzing what you do. It's just a lot to take in.
Even babies' cries are different.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you're reading it and the way it's spelled out, it's just kind of funny to see the differences. But speaking of the culture and everything like that, we cannot finish this topic without talking about music, because I remember when I was learning Portuguese, one of the first things I did was I found a bunch of Portuguese music. Some of it good, some of it not so good. But I did learn later that what was not good. but the cool thing about music is that obviously it depends on the song, but in a lot of cases you can hear, because especially with some of the slower songs, because the words are kind of the pronunciation is a little bit more elongated, so you can actually hear the words and try to hear what they're saying. So Spanish, on the other hand, of course, there's obviously a vast variety of music. So all of it is not slow, of course. But I've noticed that sometimes in Spanish and in Portuguese too, it's the titles of the songs and the lyrics and the way they tell the story is when you translate it directly, it doesn't always make sense as a direct translation. But in Spanish, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Or in Portuguese, it makes sense. And after I kind of learned the language, it started to make sense, because now my brain could understand the translation. And I'm not like that in Spanish yet, but I could understand the translation. And so,
definitely. Languages change your brain.
They do. They absolutely do. Yeah. So when it comes to music, I don't know, what is some of your favorite music to listen to in Spanish? And what did you grow up listening to?
Selena.
Oh, of course. Yes.
Yeah, to be honest, I grew up listening to English music.
Okay.
My dad likes English music. But there are some more classic music in Spanish from their times, from my parents' times, that they would play. But the Spanish music I was mostly exposed to was the music they would play at parties.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
A lot of cumbias.
Okay.
Bachata, stuff like that. But I like cumbia. I like Selena in Spanish. So.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. So you prefer you listen to English music, but at the parties is when you really heard the Spanish music.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's super common.
Yeah, I think that.
But I think that's cool though. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool that the way you did.
Yeah.
Because you obviously grew up listening to both, but English is kind of what you gravitated toward.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd like to sit here and say I'm completely familiar with both worlds in the music world, but that's that is my experience.
And something that
but that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool though.
Something that I learned is that I think there's a delay.
No, I was just gonna say that's not. I mean, what makes that kind of cool. And I didn't mean and go ahead and finish your thought, Antino. But I was just gonna say that's kind of cool because obviously we're talking to someone who is actually, I was about to say bilingual, but actually you speak more than that. You speak 4 languages or 5?
Wait, 5.
4.
Well,
ESL, Spanish, English,
4.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
It's 4.
So you speak, so you speak 4 different languages. And so that experience that you're giving is, I think is it typical? No, I think it's better than typical because of the fact that you have all these different languages in you have all these languages in your mind, and you speak English and Spanish, of course, very well. And so I think that's why I was asking for your perspective on that, because I think that's really, I mean, it's not common. You have a lot of people who are bilingual, but then once you start getting into 3, 4, or more languages, then you start to get into a category that's a little bit more rare.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
Especially when I started learning ASL, I could just see how my perspective on things was changing. And that's something that I don't fully recall when I was learning English, because technically Spanish was my first language. But, by the time I was done with kindergarten, I was pretty, fluent in English. So I don't remember the process, but I do remember the process of trying to learn ASL or Portuguese now more recently. And it really does change the way you view things, the way that you express yourself. I love seeing humor in different languages. That's something really interesting too. So, I think it's great. It's a challenge, but it's great,
Yeah, and it's cool that you got a chance to learn that challenge as well, because obviously when you're a kid, if you were in kindergarten, so you're talking about 5 and 6 years old, learning another language is super easy. Your brain is still growing and developing, and it snaps it up very quickly. But as you get a little bit older, it takes a little bit more effort to learn another language. And but you just reminded me of something that I think could be a potential future segment that we could test, if you wouldn't mind being a test subject for this.
Not at all.
You know what I was thinking?
What?
What would be a cool segment to maybe do a quick a short recording on, is just seeing how Anna, seeing how she can translate from Spanish to ASL and then English to ASL.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Having a couple of statements in Spanish and then having a few statements in English, and seeing how she translates.
And how that would be different.
Hearing both.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny though, because she has been translating for her whole life pretty much, which same way as you, I thought was very impressive. But then someone was like, they were like, we all translated for our parents growing up. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, so I don't.
No, but see, that's what's cool about this conversation between the three of us, because of the fact that we each have different experiences with the languages. But the reality is, for a lot of Americans, unless your parents were from somewhere else, a lot of times we just grow up speaking English, and we don't even think too much about learning another language, and unless it's our part of the culture. Unfortunately, that's just how it is here. Whereas when you step outside the U.S. and go to other parts of the world, it's very common to speak more than one language.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of countries, you have the official language of the country, and then there's the language of whatever group you're from, and then a lot of times people learn English because English is the language of business. Really, it's the language of the world as far as business is concerned. And English is probably the world's most widely spoken language. It's not the world's most widely spoken language as far as being a first language.
Right.
I think that belongs to Mandarin, I think. But it is as far as how many people have learned it as a second language and a third language as well. So it just so happens we just happen to be somewhere where English is like the business language of the world. And I think that's part of what it is. But
yeah.
Yeah. But growing up with parents who had to learn English, and they speak English now, but growing up, they did have to sort of rely on their kids to communicate a little bit until they got there. So that was interesting. Interesting way to grow up, and now, like, as far as, like, interpreting, like, that's frowned upon. I mean, you shouldn't have a child interpreter, but that's just the way life is sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they appreciated it.
For sure.
That's a huge help, because I can only imagine that, like, having to go somewhere else, and then you have kids and they're learning that language really quickly. I mean, I can only imagine. So no, that's cool that you actually did that.
And there's better laws in place now where they have to provide it for you, as, like, before, I don't think that was so much the case, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, you have to have an interpreter, even in the hospitals and stuff.
Yeah, they have to provide one for you. So.
Oh, got you. Okay. But you're saying that that's newer, though. That was a requirement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's But
yeah, it is kind of funny because we both didn't really grow up that far away from each other. Probably about like a half-hour distance at the most, right? 20 minutes?
Yeah, something like,
And yet I feel like we had like two separate lives.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's kind of funny to me. Like I was saying, like I grew up here, but I didn't really know the culture too much. I just knew one side of it.
One side of the
coin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting that even Tucson, it's not that big, but it definitely is that way.
It is, yeah. And I think part of that is too. Tucson is a very unique place, I think, overall.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, but I definitely can relate to what you're saying, because it's so funny. Believe it or not, Detroit has a division. I shouldn't say division, but it has its own sections where you have different language groups that tend to kind of stick together. And unless you go there, you can easily grow up in Detroit and not even understand what's going on. Like if I'm on the east side, but the west side has its own kind of world going on. So I can definitely relate to that. But yeah, Tucson is a unique place in that regard. So
yeah, it's been nice seeing things from Antonio's perspective, like the way he grew up. That's been interesting for me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, his story is very interesting.
Gosh. Well, that's what I always knew. I always knew that I've been a lot of places because thanks to my parents and friends, I was taken a lot of places when I was younger. And I was able to experience a lot of things. Going places, I don't feel uncomfortable in cities. Unless, like I can walk around New York. Even now, if we take anybody, I know what we're going to do. I know the route. I know how we're going. I know the subways. But when it comes to people, I really don't understand people. Like, I think that's why I talk so much, like even with this podcast, just talking to people, trying to get like, what is it about your life that you like, are figuring out or learning or something like that, because I have a kind of a little bit of a trouble with that. Whereas you've talked to people in English, Spanish, and sign language, and those are three totally different things and are quite often misunderstood by the other culture. And so it was kind of interesting that you had the experience of blending those things together. So I felt like that was something that I needed because I lack that.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that you take the bull by the horns.
I haven't. I've been putting it off, and I don't want to do it anymore because Aaron inspired me. If Aaron can do it, anybody can.
Oh, that is so true. That is so true. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, dude, it's
well.
tough.
I'm gonna try. So we'll see how it happens. So I had to pull up my old. It's so funny. We were talking about some of the music earlier. You were talking about how at Spanish parties, you would hear the music there, and I had pulled up a list because I actually had to DJ a Spanish party one time.
I think Sonrisa has been playing in the distance of my life, my whole life.
Yes, and I love that song. I do.
Just in somewhere, softly playing in the distances. Sonrisa.
Yeah. Yeah, that song, and of course Suavemente.
Suavemente.
Is like always. Yeah. Yeah. By the time I heard that song, I think everybody was already tired of it.
Oh,
but I was
man.
late to the party. That was like 2004, 2005, I think, when I finally heard it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I love this. Everybody was already getting tired of it at that point.
Yeah.
And but I was,
party.
yeah. And I was pulling up that. I still actually have that playlist, and I was looking through some of the songs. Another song I really loved was La Vida es un Carnaval by, I don't know how to spell your Cruz. I love that song. La Vaca, that's a pretty interesting song.
That's a
The
funny
Cow.
one.
Yeah, and I don't understand the words to it, but it has a nice beat to it. but I'm like, why do they keep?
No, dude, don't look up the words. Oh my gosh. Oh,
I was like,
no.
why do they keep saying the cow? Like the cow, la vaca.
Dude,
I'm like, why is that? But I love it. I love how it sounds. But I don't understand it.
Just as beautiful, like everyone tells me this. They're like, songs mean so much more in Spanish than they do in English. But the bad songs are infinitely worse. I'm probably wrong, and everyone just calls me ignorant, and I'm like, I apologize. But from my perspective, that's what I'm trying to change. But it's kind of funny because I like music, and I'm like, hey, they played this song at work. What is he saying? And she's like, oh, no. Like, he's talking about this girl, and he's saying these things about her body parts. And
God.
I'm like, but this is on the radio.
It depends what station.
It depends on what station and whether it's after midnight or not. Oh man, no, but I've heard people say that before, and I think I got to a point where I could relate to that a little bit. Not with Spanish, obviously, but with Portuguese, I could kind of relate to what they were saying. Mm-hmm. But of course, obviously English is my first language, and so stuff in English is still going to definitely hit me the hardest, probably. Mm-hmm. But I definitely can understand when certain people would say, "Hey, listen to this song in Portuguese," and I will listen to it. And they're like, "See, this is way." They would take, for example, they would take a song that was in both Portuguese and English, mm-hmm. and and you would listen to both versions, and I would be like, "Oh yeah, the Portuguese version does sound better." And I like the word choices that they use in Portuguese versus the English version. And I don't know if that was because the translation just wasn't that good. Uh-huh. For example, if it started off as a Portuguese song and then they translated it into English, or was it that the words in Portuguese just fit better? I don't know what that is. But going back to what you were saying, Antonio, with people saying that, as far as how people who speak both languages well. A lot of times I've heard the same thing. People would say that the Spanish version is better than the English version. And I can't disagree with that. in many cases, I'm like, yeah, I could see that.
I just think I don't want it to be true, Aaron. It makes me sad. It means that my life has been void of flavor for this whole time. All the songs that I'd listened to, they were just bland. It's like gravy.
I've been living gravy. I personally don't like to say that because what you said right now, it definitely depends on what language the song was originally written in. So that has a lot to do with it. If you have to translate something, it's not going to be the same exact thing, you know?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But for some reason, and I don't know, I guess as time goes on and we kind of go down this road of learning this language, I think it'll click. But I've had moments where people have said that to me and I've heard both songs.
Yeah.
And because I got to the point where I can understand both, I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I get what this person is saying. I get it. Like, yeah, I do like this translation in Portuguese better than the English version of the song.
Sometimes they paint a picture better.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah, that's what it seems like a lot of times. I feel like in Spanish, Portuguese, and a little bit of French as well. Because we learned French growing up. And I may have told this story on the podcast before. I don't know. I might have or might not have.
I check for congruency, so I'll let you know.
Okay. All right, cool. Just in case I hadn't mentioned this on the podcast before or not, though. Growing up in Detroit, we actually used to watch the Canadian version of Sesame Street. And so we would watch half of it half of the Canadian version was in French and half was in English.
Oh.
And so, and so we would learn how to count, all the letters, and all the basic words and sentences we learned in French. And that's just because we were right there on the border. And so we just picked up, we didn't have cable. So everything was over the air. So we just picked up the Canadian stations.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
It's so funny because I didn't realize I didn't realize it until I moved to New York. That's when I realized that Sesame Street was not half in French for most of Americans. Yeah, it never clicked. Well, it never clicked because everyone in Detroit saw it half English, half French.
I think we had it in Spanish here, right?
Yeah, they play it in Spanish. They play some shows in Spanish, like on PBS.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
And, and obviously we get the Spanish channels.
Yes.
That they have.
And the movie channels. But just real quick, checking for congruency, you have not told that story on the podcast, but you have told that story with friends who are from Canada. So that's why you think you saw it on the podcast, because it was on a Zoom call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you're safe. You're safe.
You. Okay. All right, cool. I'm glad I'm not repeating myself too much. But yeah, dude, but yeah. So it's so funny because we spoke French. And there's a video of me somewhere when I was a kid. I don't know if my aunt still has it or not, but where I was speaking English and French.
Oh, wow.
Because my dad spoke French too.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
pretty decently. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see that video.
I have to find it. Yeah, I have to see if it's still around. It's on VHS somewhere. But yeah, it's interesting just to see how our brains were. And I didn't even think about it. Like I said, you just watch the show and you repeat after them. Whatever they say, you said it too. So,
say croissant.
Croissant. I don't know how to say it now. But I just remember. I lost a lot of it, but I remember, we was, como allez-vous, and then you learn how to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See that? There's a famous English expression that came from that, but whatever.
Well, I actually...
That is awesome.
I was able, when we were out of the country, I met some friends from France, and he was telling me in broken English, he was trying to get me to tell him where we were going on the bus route. He's like, I think we're supposed to be going this way, but the bus is going that way. And like, this has been going on for a while. That's kind of like, he was frustrated because he was trying to figure out what was going on. And so I just told him, c'est la vie. And he just laughed. And I was like, I hope that isn't offensive.
No,
that's the only French I know.
He was genuinely like laughing hard at that. He thought that was hilarious.
That's the only French that I know, and I learned it from a song. A lot of the expressions I know. What?
What? No, I just thought of something. I just thought of a song that has French in it too, but it's not good though.
I feel like I know what song you're thinking of.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. This song got remade some years ago, and the French translation is not good.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, I'm sorry.
Man,
but yeah, what's funny about French is that it's pretty easy to read, but the pronunciation is different. And now that I'm thinking about it, Detroit, I mean, that's French, because technically it's Detroit. That's the pronunciation of it. But,
I did not know that.
Yeah, and a lot of the streets in Detroit are French as well, but we just say it in our own ghetto English. But it's a lot of
Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, we say Detroit, but Troit is toi.
Yeah,
so that's the correct pronunciation.
That's
but
funny. That's all it is. America's just butchering all of these
we do. That's what we do That's what we do as Americans. We take everything in the world and we butcher it and destroy it and annihilate it and microwave it and then pour it out and expect everyone else to like it.
And it's gravy. Well.
Yeah. So thank you for listening to Two Crazy Scoops podcast where...
no. Man.
Two Crazy Scoops would just like to say that we are glad that we haven't... No, I'm just
I don't know what to cut out and what to keep in. There's just gonna be a lot of like laughing, and no one's gonna know why. Oh gosh.
I had to give you something to do after, when you edit this.
Okay, Aaron. So I do have to do the outro, but did I go a little too hard at the intro for this one, or I don't know?
No, you're fine. But the audio on my end sounded a little scratchy. But I think on your end it's gonna sound fine. Yeah. I'm still hearing you through Zoom.
Yeah. So okay, because I think
it's gonna be fine.
The look on your face, I was like, "Oh my god, I think I went."
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was like
I went too far.
No, but like I said, on your end, it probably sounds good. So I say keep it, just do it the same way, and then you'll hear it on your end. But like I said, on my end, it's just like, oh my god.
Okay. Man, let me see if I can get this. There we go. So I have the machine back again, and I can play the music on here. So. This has been Two Crazy Scoops Podcast with your hosts, Ao and Tino and A&A. I don't really know what to say at the end of this. That I just want to apologize for Aaron. To all of you.
I'm sorry. I controlled myself the whole episode, but at the end it just came out.
To be honest, we've actually been recording this whole time. It's just none of the audio was usable. Aaron was going on rants about the French Revolution and things like that. So,
oh God.
Thank you all for listening.